We're gonna open Sonnet's December's Makers box. I'm really behind this month, and so this video might be a little bit quicker than my normal videos, which that's okay too. The first thing you're gonna find is a thank you card, and it also gives you the it gives you a little insight, and then it tells you what each of the products are. So first off, we're going to, this is called a rustic pine cone. This is from Royce, the Roycycled papers, and it's curated just for Sonnet's box. Look at that pine cone. I can't wait to use this. I wanted something big enough to put this entire piece of paper on. And then the other side has a sprig of pine cones down here with this really pretty creamy yellowy paper with some dots on it and some crackle finish. It's like, that is really good. That's winter. It's, you don't necessarily have to have it for Christmas. It's more winter. So that was rustic pine cone. Next one is silhouette. So this one's pretty out there. Like, I'm buffaloed as to what I should do with this. So there's all different silhouettes with the same type of creamy yellow crackle dot background. It's got some text on it, some writing on it back here, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it has all of these silhouettes, so it's called Silhouette. The next one comes to my papers. So this one is called Mistletoe Kisses. So this kind of, to me, looked like a little bit of a mistletoe, but I wanted to incorporate the pine cone because I do think the pine cone is really fun to paint. So this is the full page one. So this is called Mistletoe Kiss. And then this one is called Heavenly Sign. So we all know that cardinals are if you see a cardinal, you know a loved one is near. And at Christmas time, everybody seems to enjoy their cardinals just a little bit more. So this is a multiple sheet. You can make 3 projects with this one paper. Then we have the milk paint in Lantern, which I think this is a black. I'm not really sure. We're gonna find out. And then the 2 DIY paints that we have for you this month is White Swan and Aviary. Aviary is one of my favorite colors, and I used in the making of the rice papers. And White Swan, I use that all the time. That's a really good white. For fusion, we have Coal Black and we have Bayberry. So those are 2 real pretty colors. Look at this. They're pretty similar. So they really are some good colors. And then for the little free gift today, we have a silhouette that's made by CNC DIY Factory. And she created this for Sonnet's box, and it's a lasered 2-piece silhouette. I'm excited to try this and see what we get with it. So let's start crafting. The biggest project I have right here is this big old breadboard. It has the ridge in it so that your juices can go in there, except when I have a wood cutting board, I don't necessarily like all the juices to gather onto my wood. So I'm gonna upcycle this and just get rid of this wood and this wood cutting board so that it doesn't get all full of germs and make people sick. So we're gonna upcycle this. It does have this engraving on it. I am going to try and sand that off, or I'm going to use some, what's it called? Plaster. And we're going to probably plaster that in and then sand it off. So let's get to work on that. So it was probably pretty silly of me to tell you that I was going to sand that off, because right now we are at a -11. So I'm not going outside to sand that off. So we're going to fill this in with some of this spackling compound. We're gonna fill in that laser etch wording right there and get rid of that indent. And then we can sand this off. You can actually just put it on there so that it fills in the gap, getting off as much extra as you can so you don't have to do that sanding too much, but leave it in there so that it fills up those letters nicely. You want to make sure that you have enough in those letters so that it doesn't come popping through. And again, you could have sanded this down one complete layer and you'd have never seen that. So don't be afraid to pick up a cutting board that has laser engraving on it. You can cover it right up. Now that that's all dried, we can take a piece of sandpaper and that plaster just sands right off pretty easily. Then I take a baby wipe just to clean up all the dust. And we're going to use that white swan that's found in the maker's box. This is a really, really pretty white, very white color. And we're going to paint this entire board with the white swan. This board is nice and dry. Now we're going to put this entire piece of decoupage paper onto this board. It's only half of it though, because this is a large piece of decoupage paper. So we're just gonna, for ease, we're gonna cut down this middle line, this middle fold line. After you get this piece of paper all situated where you want it, like I use this flat edge up here and I just made sure that it was even on the top of the cutting board. And then it's obviously going to be even the rest of the way down. So now you're gonna mist it a little bit and opening up those fibers. And then we're gonna peel that back. So this is gonna be where it's placed. I'm gonna try not to wiggle it. I already did. And then we're gonna take our favorite decoupaging medium, which is liquid patina. And we're going to put a starter strip of liquid patina over here. You want a pretty liberal coat of liquid patina so that your paper adheres right to it. So we're gonna go in, my heater is running, so it's kind of drying it as we go, which is difficult, and then lay it back down. When you're working with a large sheet of decoupage paper, you are gonna experience some trouble with wrinkles. Just be patient, work with it. You got a little wiggle time to move it around. So just move it around, get it on there, and you won't have any wrinkles. Just use a little bit of patience. So that's all on there, wrinkle free. We're gonna peel this back and mist it a little bit. Misting is what helps it to not wrinkle. So it opens up the fibers and it makes it not wrinkle. Then we're gonna go back in with some liquid patina. We're not gonna do this whole board because it's drying pretty well. And we're just gonna go right up to that edge with not so much loaded onto our brush. You don't want a whole lot of liquid patina loaded on your brush when you're going right next to that paper. And then lay it down again. Have a little patience. You got a little wiggle time to get it down without any wrinkles. And if you do have wrinkles, it's okay. Just embrace them. That's why we're only working in little sections at a time, is we want to make sure that we get this down and wrinkle free. We're gonna flip it back one more time. I'm gonna try and do this whole last section at one time. Wish me luck. You can take a piece of plastic wrap so that you don't risk tearing it with your hands. And now you're just gonna make sure that's all smoothed down. We have no wrinkles, guys. No wrinkles, no bubbles. That was good. This paper is fully onto this board. That was fun. After you get the paper all on there and you have all of your wrinkles all smoothed out, you're gonna go back in with another coat of liquid patina. And just go right over the top of that paper. You're gonna smooth that all in, making sure everything is all adhered to that board, and sealing that paper off from the top too. Not only the bottom, but also from the top. If you get any wrinkles or bubbles at this time, don't worry. When it dries, they'll suck back in. If you didn't have wrinkles before or bubbles, they will sink back down. Now with this breadboard, it's all completely dry. We're just gonna take a piece of sandpaper and sand back those right to the edge, which will give you a nice crisp line with your paper and the edge of the board. I'm gonna go all the way around this board. We're going to stencil on this blank side of this board, and I don't want it to be Christmassy. I want it to be more like wintry, all for longer than the Christmas season. So I am going to go ahead and use my JRV stencil brush. You can find the stencil brushes located at thepaintedphotographer.com. And I just pounce. I just tap it up and down, and I wiped some of the excess off of my brush, and you can see how far this still goes, even though you can see I wiped most of the paint off of the brush, but it still goes a really long ways. The key to stenciling is a good stencil brush. So when I got these JRV stencil brushes, it was a life changer for stenciling. You can stencil over top of decoupage paper. It's one of my favorite things to do. It makes, I don't know, it just gives it a second dimension. So stenciling over top of the paper is, I've done this a couple times with this video, and this one looks really, really good. So here's the reveal, and it is so pretty. However, I am one who doesn't like the stencil gaps. So I come back in with my artist brush and the same color paint, and I fill in all of those little stencil gaps. So you can see as I work along, you'll see how much more complete this looks and not stenciled. It looks like it's hand lettered. So when you're doing stenciling, just take the time to fill in those stencil gaps. Another thing I like to do is just sand over the stenciling to make it look not so crisp. You have to be really careful with this one though, because your black paint will smear onto the decoupage paper. So I didn't do it for very long. Then I came in with a big top, which is DIY. It's also listed on my website. It is my favorite top coat, and I sealed this paper all in. After that was completely dried, then I came in with clear wax. So yes, I had two different sealers on here. Oh, I did forget to mention that I took the edges and I sanded the edges again. So I sanded the big top off of the raw wood edges so that my wax would penetrate into that wood, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with some dark wax. And that dark wax, when it goes onto the wood itself, the raw wood, it's a really, really pretty color. But if it had any big top on it, it would just stay on the surface of the big top. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you sand off that big top if you have any raw wood, so that your dark wax can kind of stain that versus just sit on the top of the big top. So I did go over the entire decoupage paper with the dark wax. It had two different clear coats on it, the one big top and one clear wax, so it didn't stain up much, which I was very, very happy with that. So here you can see I'm going back in with the dark wax, no clear wax on this, just dark wax, and it is staining up that wood, that raw wood, really, really nicely. It's a very, very pretty wood. This cutting board can no longer be used for food, so it's okay to use this DIY wax on here. If you were going to still use a cutting board for food, you would not want to be putting wax onto the cutting board itself. All right, so since we are pressed for time to get this video done, for the cardinal rice paper, I'm going to show you a really easy way to use the rice paper and make some beautiful art. So these metal frames, they're very, very popular right now, and they're just old metal frames and very inexpensive. This one was 18 cents. This one was 28 cents. So all you have to do is pop out the back of it, pop that stuff out of there, and then we're going to clean this glass. If you think that a glass is clean on one side and not on the other, guess again. When you get them at the thrift store or even in the big box stores, they're disgusting. So make sure you clean them. I put that glass down onto a piece of paper toweling, and I peel that price sticker off of there, and I spray it with some just plain Windex, and I clean the one side off. After I get that side all nice and clean, and you can feel it's clean now because it was pretty disgusting before, then I turn it over and I clean the other side. I do this first before I even cut my paper so that this glass is really dry before I put my paper in there, because you put wet glass onto that rice paper and you'll end up with it sticking to the glass. So just make sure that your glass is nice and dry. So clean your glass. That's my tip, both sides. The next thing you want to do is take your paper cutter and you're going to cut the rice paper. So these should be 5 by 7s. Looks like it's just a hair over a 5 by 7. And then this one should be a 3.5 by 5. Actually, this is a 4 by 5. So we're going to go ahead and cut this rice paper. We're going to cut it right on the edge right here to start out with. And we need this one. So this is a, what did I say? 5 by 7. So we're gonna go ahead and cut this to a 5 by 7. I'm gonna cut a little bit off the top here, so I didn't cut all of those hanging pine needles down. And then I'm gonna cut this end off right here. And then this has to go to 5, and I don't want to cut all of that off. So I'm going to scoot him over here a little bit. And then I'm going to come back around and take the rest off this side. Now I have some heavier cardstock that's all white, and I'm going to cut the cardstock to the same size as my paper. Now all you have to do is assemble them. So we're going to put the cardinal in there, put the white cardstock behind it, because the white cardstock is going to make it stand out a little bit more. And then if you need more cardboard, just go ahead and cut yourself another piece of cardboard just for filler. And you have the sweetest piece of artwork, and it's all done, able to be given to a friend during this holiday season. I needed something round for those silhouettes. So this was in my stash. It's a thrifted item. It's kind of like a riser. And I thought, well, that would be kind of cool to have that one of those silhouettes on this riser. So I need to paint it, and I need to make sure that it's got a really nice base to it. So we're gonna put some layered chocolate into this little cup here. I don't need a whole lot of it. And then we're going to take one of my favorite products, and that is Saltwash. And we're gonna thicken up that paint just by adding a little bit of Saltwash. It's a powder that texturizes your paint and makes it really, really hard base. Oh, I put a little bit too much Saltwash in. It mixes in, but it's a little bit thicker than I want. So you can fix that by just adding a little bit more paint. And mixing it in. It should be like a brownie batter is what it should look like. Kind of thick and chunky. And now we're gonna go on to the entire thing. And it has texture in it, and that's what we want right now. We want some texture. So you're seeing my brush strokes, you're seeing all that texture, and that's good. That's what I want. So we're just gonna cover this all up and see, we're gonna have a nice riser when we're done. I've been so focused on getting this video done, I forgot to tell you. So I did the Saltwash treatment, so I added the texture. And then I didn't film this. I added the DIY Big Top to this. I wanted to seal in that layered chocolate layer. And so I used the Big Top and I sealed it in. Now we're going to add some white to this. We're going to use the white swan for this project. So we're just going to take the white swan that was in the maker's box, and we're going to put that over top of the layered chocolate that I put on here. And the layered chocolate is sealed, so it will not rub off when I try to distress the white swan. When you're using a decoupage paper, you want a white background so that it comes through and is very crisp and clear. So I'm just taking a baby wipe after it had all dried and going back and getting some of those high areas where the Saltwash was to take that back to that layered chocolate look and give it a nice distressed look before we start adding our decoupage papers. Okay, folks, I have to admit I'm not too excited about this paper. It doesn't scream Connie to me, but we're gonna try and use it. The only problem I have is the top of this round. The only frame it fits is these ones with the really goofy hair, and I'm not into silhouettes, so I don't really know what that means. This one the frame is really pretty, and I don't mind that silhouette, but it won't fit. This one, I don't mind too much. We might make this one work because I just don't like those. I don't like those goofy hairs. I don't understand them. And those are too big. So we're gonna go, let's just do this, guys. We're gonna cut this frame out. Let's just do this. You know what? I might surprise myself. That's what this maker's box is all about, is trying something that you haven't tried before. Doing something that's a bit out of your comfort zone. So here we go, guys. Okay, guys, here it is. That's gonna go on there like that. I might have to do some more adding to this. I can see it already, but we're gonna get this down first, okay? We're gonna mist the paper a little bit. Go in with the liquid patina. And then we're just gonna put this frame on there since it is round. It shouldn't matter which way it's facing, just as long as it's kind of in the center. All right, we're not done with this. We're adding some more stuff. You just wait. There are 3 trimmings molds. There's trimmings 1, trimmings 2, and trimmings 3. So we have plenty to choose from. I think I do like this right here or this one. This one's a little bit longer, and I don't think I'm gonna have to mold as many with this one, so we're gonna go ahead and start with this one. I'm gonna use my air dry clay and put it right in that mold. Okay, so that trimmings mold is gonna go around there. And then I wanted a little detail for the bottom and maybe on the top a little bit. So I'm gonna go in with this little piece off of the frames mold. It's just, nope, sorry, this is Classic Elements. This is an oldie but a goodie. So it's just a tiny little detail in this mold. And that's the fun thing about the molds, is you can mold them just for what you're looking for. So this is the only piece that I want. And I'm going to put that down there, and then I'm going to mold another one for the top. Okay, we're just going to take a little wood glue. The molds, paint, and IOD products, any other IOD products, Roycycled paper, can be found on my website at thepaintedphotographer.com. And I also, you'll see a link below, and then you'll also see a link for an affiliate link for Amazon, which is no cost to you, just small pennies for me to keep doing what I'm doing. And I put a link for the Type Bond wood glue. That works fantastic on your molds. So you're just gluing them all up and gluing them down. All I'm trying to do is make sure it's okay that we see some of that white. We're gonna fix that later with some magic. I just want my seam to be at the top, and I want my seam to be at the bottom. Now we're gonna take these little doodads. This one's a little smaller, so we're gonna put that on the bottom. And we're just going to mold that around. Looks like it's peeling a little bit, so I'm going to stick some wood glue in there. And pinch it back shut without trying to lose some details. Now we're going to do this one. All right, we're gonna let that dry and see what we get. All right, Debbie from DIY Paint says to use a color underneath if you want your metallic finish to show through a little bit more. So I'm trusting her. We're gonna paint this with Summer Crush. I didn't let it fully dry. All right, I'll show you when I'm done. All right, the Summer Crush is completely dried, and now we're going to go in with Pennies from Heaven, which is a coppery metallic color. We're going to just brush right over the top of it. We're going to fully cover it, and Debbie was right. You put an orange color underneath the copper patina, and it just makes the copper stand out that much more, and it's not as translucent. So I'm going in and I'm going to cover the entire piece with this copper patina. And when I get to the inside by the decoupage paper, there is a little bit of orange now. And so I'm just going to go in and I'm going to make sure that I pounce on that area there, and just to give it a little bit of texture and to cover up that area between the decoupage paper and the paint. So you want to make sure that you're getting in all of those creases and crevices and filling in the whole thing. Now I went in with some clear wax just to protect that decoupage paper a little bit, and then I'm going to go in with dark wax. So the rest of this has not been cleared or anything. The copper patina does have a built-in sealer, so it is already sealed, and we're going to go in, we're going to put that dark wax into those crevices of the mold, and kind of giving it a little age to it, because the copper patina is good, but I really do like a copper patina that has a bit of age to it, and this dark wax is perfect for that. And remember, we did have the Saltwash on here, so we do have some texture on the outside of the mold as well. So then you're going to take a piece of paper toweling and you're going to wipe some of that excess dark wax off of there. And one of the things that I like to do when I'm using the copper patina is I like to give it some more age. And Debbie from DIY has a really good product called Shipwrecked. I couldn't remember the name of it, but it is a teal wax. And if you know copper, you know that it does kind of get a tealish look to it when it ages. So this is perfect. I just put some of that Shipwrecked wax onto the frame and working it into some of those crevices, and I'm just giving the whole thing just a bit more coppered patinaed age, and going back and wiping off the excess. And I don't know, guys, this might not be my thing, but I think I recovered it well enough to look like I could like this. I could like this a lot. It came out very different from where we started, and that's the beauty of creating, is just keep adding layers. If you don't like it, add something else. It'll all come together. Here we're gonna use the milk paint. One of these times, guys, we're gonna get this milk paint to work. So I'm gonna dump in equal parts of water. This is warm water. I had a little bit more than I was supposed to. So we're gonna try that. And then you just take your whisk and whisk that paint up. And you're gonna let it sit for 10 minutes. And it's kind of like heavy cream is what you're gonna end up with. And then we're gonna paint this tray. All right, we're gonna go in with the milk paint. I like to use my not so great brushes when I use milk paint. I don't know what it does to the brushes. It's just not as clean and safe as the DIY paint for cleanup. So this is obviously very black. So one of these times we're gonna get chipping, guys. We're gonna get milk paint to chip because that's what it's supposed to do. So I'm hoping it's this time because this tray would be pretty sweet if it was all chippy, even these handles. So I'm just going right over top of the handles, trying to get them to chip as well. This is black, guys. Yeah, and it's such good coverage. Yeah, who'da thunk? Okay, now we just gotta let it dry and see if we get chipping. Okay, be careful what you wish for, because it chipped on the first coat. I don't really know. I'm gonna go in with the second coat because I want it to be a little darker wherever it's not gonna chip. So I'm not sure what we're supposed to do in this case when it chips on the first layer and you don't really like the coverage. So I don't know. We're painting over it. If you know what I was supposed to do, leave it in the comments. Because I don't think this is it, but you know what? I've never followed rules. Well, I follow rules, but not painting rules. So I think I'm gonna like that coverage just a little bit better. It was a good coverage, just not dark enough for me. Now we'll see what happens. Okay, guys, be careful what you wish for. We got a lot of crack in here. I'm not really sure what we'll end up with, but I'm just gonna take a soft cloth and wipe over this. So are you ready? Because I'm not sure that I am, because I think it all might come off. But let's do this together. Here we go. Oh, guess what? We have a mess. Yeah, we have a bit of a mess. What do you think? Do you like this? Oh, my. I guess it didn't matter if I had good coverage. Oh, my. What's on there now is stuck. Okay. Now what, guys? Start over. I take it this is a really slick surface. And when you use milk paint, sometimes you have to use tight, I don't know what it's called, Ultra Bond, something like that, to prevent it from chipping off too much. So I don't know that I like this at all, but I wanted something to chip. I got what I wanted, right? We'll see what we can do now. You know what, guys? I think I'm just gonna seal it up with dark wax. Yep, you heard me. I'm gonna go with it. Everything that's gonna chip off is chipped off. We're just gonna put some dark wax on it. And go with the old chippy look. And the dark wax is going to make that orange wood be toned down a little bit. it's going to tone it to more of a brown instead of the orangey red. See how it's a bit orangey red back here? So your DIY wax is going to tone that to a darker brown instead of that orangey red. This is going straight in on the wood, no clear wax. Just straight dark wax onto the wood. And it has a really nice deep goldeny brown versus the red. Now we're gonna just take some of the dark off the top. And we're gonna embrace this chippy look that I got going on here. And see what happens. We'll let that wax dry and we'll buff it off. We have another quick project here using the mistletoe kisses. So I took this gallery board that I got at the thrift store and I painted just the inside of it white. And I'm using a blank piece of paper and I'm just marking out a pattern for the mistletoe kisses. So I can go ahead and mark on here and get my pattern all set up so that I can decide what part of my mistletoe kisses do I want in this frame. So you're going to see when I use the mistletoe kisses that it's okay to have that design cut off. And I kind of like it when the design is cut off and not just floating in the middle of the frame. So here I'm just taking my paper cutter and I am removing some of that bow. I want that bow, the loop, not to be visible. So I'm going to cut some of that loop off. And then I am going to have a little gap on the bottom, which I have a plan for that gap on the bottom. So I am just marking this out using my template that I have. And you can see how I cut some of that design off. And I really do like it with the design cut off. And when you're cutting with rice paper, just make sure that you're very careful so you don't tear it because it is very thin. So that's where the mistletoe kisses is going to go, is just right inside that frame. And we're going to mist the paper just like we do the decoupage paper. So this is a little bit thicker paper, but it opens up the fibers. Now I'm going to use the DIY liquid patina. You can find that on my website at thepaintedphotographer.com. And that is my favorite decoupage medium for both decoupage paper and for these rice papers. So getting this rice paper lined up inside that frame is going to be a bit of a challenge, but it's a little bit thicker paper. You got a little bit more wiggle time and you can tug on this paper just a little bit more. You'll still rip it, so be careful. But you can actually just keep maneuvering it around until you find its place. So I went ahead and just put that onto that surface, and then using the liquid patina, I went right over the top of it and made sure to seal that right inside that frame. I really like how this turned out, and I like how some of that design is cut off on the sides and not just floating. So this is completely dry now, and here's my plan. So using the same stencil, and I just taped everything off except for that word joy. I really, really do like the word joy. I don't know why. It's always been my favorite word at Christmas time, and this doesn't have to be a Christmas painting. It can be a more seasons. So during the winter time, because this just has a pine cone and a little bit of holly, but that's okay too. So I'm using my JRV stencil brush and that little black dress, the DIY paint, and I'm pouncing and making that word joy. And again, don't like those stencil lines, so I'm going to fill them in and giving this more of a hand lettered look. And I really, really like this project. It turned out so good. However, I didn't really like the wood frame now that I got it on here. And so in our maker's box, we have the color Aviary, which is one of the colors that I used to paint this painting with. So I'm going in with Aviary and just going on the top edge of that frame. I don't worry about the sides because they're so small. Those edges are so small. It's going to cover up with dark wax. So I got on the top of this frame, and then I also do the sides, working myself all the way around. I really do like the improvement of the green frame versus that brown frame. It just made that painting pop just a little bit more. Now everything is dried. I'm going to go in with my favorite clear coat, which is Big Top. I do like the look of Big Top, and I'm going to go over everything, including the painted surface. You can see that the DIY paint just brightens up a little bit when you put that clear coat on. Giving it another second protect with that clear wax is, I, I just always like to have the second protect. And then I go in with my dark wax, which is going to make those inside edges just be more complete. And it's going to actually fill in with dark wax and give it kind of that age look to it. This is a really, really fun project. I think this might be my favorite. So, that between this and the cutting board, I really liked both of them. So let me know in the comments which was your favorite project. I'd love to hear from you. All right, we have one final project that we're going to complete. This is with the gift that Sonnet had sent along of this little silhouette, this laser cut silhouette that was done by Cindy and Chris from CNC DIY Factory. And you can find them on Facebook. She does a lot of lives, and she has a laser cutting machine that she has been utilizing and becoming coming up with lots of kits. She is located in, I don't remember where she's located, but you can find her on Facebook. So I painted one with the black color from Fusion and one with the bayberry green. So that black color is called cast iron. Here is a thrifted bottle. I think it cost me like 47 cents. And I thought the square sides of it would work perfect for this silhouette medallion. So I'm going to use this um, cast iron, I think is what it's called, this black from Fusion, since I don't need to have a clear coat on here. And I'm going to paint the lid. So I'm going to paint the entire lid. The coverage isn't great, so just go along with it. And when you put your second coat on, that coverage is going to get better with the second coat. I'm even going to paint that little rubber stopper. And the reason I can paint it is because it kind of is a loose fit already. So adding a layer of paint to that rubber stopper is going to help with the fit on this jar. So I paint them in sections, and I just painted the top first. When that was completely dry and had a good coverage, then I went ahead and painted the bottom. I decided that the silhouette head didn't stand out as well on that bayberry color. So I'm going to use some of this rice paper that, or I'm sorry, this decoupage paper that we got from Royce. And I'm going to use that and decoupage it to this um, back surface, but because that decoupage paper is so see-through, that bayberry was going to mute those colors. So I went ahead and used the white swan that we got in our box, and I put a coat onto that green bayberry color to brighten up the paper a little bit. So here we're going to take the paper and we're going to use that liquid patina all over again. There is writing on this paper. This is the one with the pine cones. This is the pine cone paper, and it does have some text on it. So I wanted to make sure my text was not up and down and it was from left to right. So I made sure that this was big enough so that it could fit that with the letters being left to right versus up and down. So going in with the liquid patina, and we're going to decoupage this on here. It's all dried. I sanded off the edges. Now we're going to finish off the back of it, because with it being on the clear bottle, you will be able to see through it. And I would just like to have it a little bit finished. I do like the backs of my projects to be finished. And so I'm just taking that cast iron paint and I'm going in on the back of this and sealing that all in. Now I'm going to go ahead and give this some big top, and then after that is all dried, it's all in the details and all in the layers of the process. So I'm going around with the IOD ink pad and I'm making that black edge kind of feather over the top edge of this medallion. So it's given it a more finished look. Then I use my Tight Bond wood glue, and I'm going to smear it around on the back side of this silhouette and till I get good coverage on there, and then I'm going to put it in place and let it dry. Alright guys, that's it for my video for the Maker's Box. It's been a struggle trying to get this done. As you can see, I have not wrapped any presents. I bought them, not all of them. This is nothing. I have many more coming on an Amazon truck. I'm an Amazon shopper. I don't know if you are. There's an affiliate link below for some of my favorite products when it comes to crafting, but I also am an Amazon shopper when it comes to gifts for my grandkids. So I have plenty that I have to do yet. I did get this out. It's not as great. I mean, the projects are amazing, and I hope that you like the projects because I really had fun creating them. And even though some of them took me out of my comfort zone, I really did have fun when it came down, right down to it, and trying to think outside the box and make it my style. You can only find these products in Sonnet's Maker's Box. You can sign up for her Maker's Box, and you can go to Sonnet's Garden Blooms. She has a YouTube channel and a Facebook page, and sign up for her Maker's Box. She's opening up new slots in February. So go ahead and sign up for that Maker's Box because I plan to have some really good papers coming up in the 2025 future. I have a little bit of an announcement to make. I quit my day job. Yep, I am done January 2nd. So that's exciting for 2025 that I will be doing this full time. Hopefully then you can see more consistent YouTube videos and thrifting videos because I know that's what you like. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I probably won't see you before the holidays, so have yourself a wonderful Christmas. And I hope that you have your presents wrapped and bought and a list made and your cookies made. The grandkids are coming over in about a half an hour to make hot cocoa bombs. This needs to be gone before then. Wish me luck. Thank you again, and until next time, happy painting.